We are ready to measure and fold our 2 long pieces of paper to create the inside pages of our accordion book. And we're going to start off by doing some quick measurements. I'm using the inches side of the ruler. Inch starts with the letter I. It's the bigger spaces. If you're using these little teeny tiny spaces, which is centimeters, it's not going to work out as well. You can also just double check, and if you see that the word is right side up, then you're good to go. An important thing to know about measuring is that if I measure with the edge of my ruler touching the edge of the paper, I'm not going to get an accurate measurement. What I need to do is I need to line up the 0 with the edge of my paper. And then once I do that, I'm going to put a mark at the number 9. And then just to double check that I've measured it correctly, I can kind of go on the other side, line up my mark with the 0, and when I double check it, it's at 9 inches. You're going to do that on both sides of both pieces of paper. So I'm putting my 0 at the edge, putting a line at the number 9, and double check. Now that I have my measurements done on both papers, top and bottom, and on the other paper, top and bottom, I am going to be ready to start the next step. To fold my papers, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold one side into the middle and line it up with those 2 lines that I marked. And you can start off by doing a soft fold like that, and then you're going to use a folding tool to smooth it out. So you can kind of see right here, my fold is kind of soft. It's all lined up. I know that it's in the right spot, so I'm going to use my folding tool to just kind of make it even more crisp. I'm using the flat end of the tool. I'm not using the sharp end. So I want to smooth it out like that, and you can see when I look at it again, it's much more tight of a fold. If you don't have these kind of folding tools, you can always use the end of a Sharpie. It'll work the same. Then I'm gonna fold the other side into the middle, line it up first. When you're sure you've got it in the right spot, do a soft fold with just your fingers, and then use that folding tool on the flat edge to give it a really, really smooth fold like that. The last folding step is super fun. You're just gonna put those 2 edges together. So I would line up the 2 corners right here first, and then once you have it lined up, hold it down with one hand and do a soft fold on the other side, and then use that tool with the smooth end to kind of tighten up and make that fold sharp. So what you should have is a W. You're going to do the same steps to fold your other paper. Once I have both of my pages folded, I should have 2 W's, and that means that I'm ready for the next step. All right, to make this work as an accordion book, what I need to do is I need to leave one of my papers as a W, and then I'm gonna flip the other paper over so it looks like an M. And then I need to glue these 2 papers to each other. I only need to put glue on one of them. So this one that's a W, I'm gonna leave it like that so that I don't forget. And then this one, I'm double checking which side I need. I'm gonna put it right here on this side. If it helps, you can put a little X on the 2 papers that are gonna get glued together, just so that as you're working, you don't get confused and maybe stick it in the wrong spot. Those 2 pages need to go together to make one long zigzag, and I've got my X on both sides so I know to glue them to each other. And then I'm just gonna take a scrap piece of paper like that and put, I don't have to unfold the whole big paper, but just unfold a little bit. And you wanna end at the fold. Make sure you don't get glue on the other page. So that's probably the first place I would start, is right there, right at the fold. And then I would do an outline all the way around. You wanna make sure and get the corners and the edges so that the papers don't come apart. And then same as we did with the cover, get a nice, smooth, even, generous amount of glue. You don't want it to be so much glue that you've got like big chunks like that everywhere. If you get kind of a chunk of glue, just take it and you use your glue stick to sort of smooth it out. Then you are going to move your glue paper away. And I know that I need the X to match with the X. And what is easy for me is to start with the edge. So I like to pinch the papers that I'm not using. And I'm gonna start by lining up this edge of this paper with an X on it with the fold of the paper I put glue on. And once I get that lined up, so I'm not gluing it all the way down yet, I'm just doing it like that because it's easy to move it and change it a little bit if it's only a tiny little part is touching the glue. And then I can just lay the rest of it flat. And same as when we were doing the covers, just smooth it out with that part of your hand right there. Okay, and then you'll see when you fold it all together, now you've got this beautiful zigzag all the way across. The very last step is that we have to glue our pages to both of our covers. And the process is very similar. You're gonna find that outside cover on both sides, put a little X so that you remember that's the part that gets glue, and then open it up, fold it flat, and we're only gonna do one at a time. So don't try and put glue on both sides because the glue will dry out while you're trying to put together the other one. You wanna open it up twice so that you can see that folded line. We're gonna get glue right up next to the fold, but not go over it. And then do glue all inside. If you start to run out of glue, you can just like twist it up a little. You don't want to twist it too much because then it's gonna get everywhere. All right, make sure you get the edges and the corners really well. And then I'm gonna do the same thing that I did before. I'm gonna move my glue paper out of the way, and I'm gonna take this part and I'm just gonna start with the edge. I'm not gonna put it all the way. I'm not putting it all the way to the edge of my cover. I'm giving it a little bit of a border. I need to make sure you can see that all the way around. I've got just like a little bit of cover showing through. And then once I've got it lined up, then I'm gonna push down and smooth it out. And I can kind of fold it flat. Make sure that it's glued down all around. If you want to smooth it from the other side too, you can. And then I'm going to repeat that same step on this X. It's going to be a little bit trickier because now you have a cover on the other side. So you just want to make sure that you unfold it twice like that. And then when you're gluing it, set it in a way where the cover can stay on the table. Because if it falls to the ground, it's going to, like, your whole book is gonna expand open and it'll get floppy. So then I would just repeat the same step with the other side. And my accordion book is finished. I've got it all glued together. You'll want to let the glue dry for a little bit before you start drawing, especially on the pages where you put the glue. But once the glue is dry, it is going to be so much fun to use. The way that you use an accordion book is you can start by flipping it open in this direction. If you want to go through and erase those little lines, you can, but you don't have to if they don't bother you. So I would flip it this way, and then once I get to the end, I could turn and flip it this way and draw or write on that side.